So here we are on Daf Lamed Gimel Amid Beis on Erev Chag Sukkos, our last chance to learn as a group till after Chag Shavuos, when we makabel the Torah. So this is our last little session before Kabbalas Torah. So whatever we don't understand today, we can daven for on Shavuos to understand better. And by the way, I would appreciate if you daven for Yeshiva on Shavuos. It's a good time to daven for everything to get better, including the Yeshiva. Okay, so here we are. We have at the top of the page, Rav Yehuda saying a Kiddush that even if you take a knife and cut away at, let's say, a certain kind of a branch of straw, kind of a straw branch that's food for behema, but you'd like to cut it down to a point where you can use it as a toothpick, which should have been a problem of what's called tikkun mana. He says clearly there is no such problem as tikkun mana. That's the Chiddush of Rav Yehuda, that as long as you're dealing with animal food and then you want to take it and reshape it for your own usage, it's okay. It's not a problem of tikkun, not a problem of making a kli, which we've had for a number of Mishnayos, the problem of making a kli. So it's not a problem making a kli. And we said perhaps because even no matter what you do to it, it still remains animal food, because you don't mind giving to your animal something that, let's say, you use for a toothpick. Why not just throw it back into the bin and now your cow will eat it along with all the other straw? So now Rav Kana says that's not possible because we have a Beitsa that says clearly that if you take and you cut a branch, even if it's just to smell a little bit of the smell that's inside the branch, it's going to be usher. And if you try to do it to create a proper implement for like picking your teeth, that's going to actually be chayav chatas. We said probably it's called makabapatish.
What are you chayav chatas if you do it
to pick your teeth? Then you're really creating an implement.
When you're just cutting it to
smell. So we said that you could say a few reasons why there's a distinction between those two cases. Because when I'm creating a toothpick, we said the other day that people like to save their toothpicks for later on. They don't like to throw their toothpick out so quickly. So therefore he's going to save it for extra period of time. It could be that it creates a proper implement that will last. It will stick around for a while. And therefore it's more of a permanent tikkun. And we could call it makabapatish, let's say. Whereas if you're just doing it to smell it, how long is that going to last? Only a little while will the smell be strong enough, and then it wears off. So therefore it will remain animal food. So therefore it's still usur, because there was a period of time in which you're using it for your own personal usage, but it's still, in the more extreme case, going to be chayav chatas. So either way it's a kasha on Rav Yehuda, who said it's mutter, because he's saying not only is it not mutter and it's really usur, there's certain cases even chayav chatas. The case you really spoke about, according to Rashi, that was included in Rav Yehuda's Kiddush, was that you can take it and make it into a toothpick, even though, according to what we're saying now, that's a more permanent change. So, how can that work? So Rav Yehuda says, besides the fact that he sort of expresses his displeasure that Rav Kana asked this kind of a question on him from a chayav chatas case, but the real point is he has an answer. What is his answer? That Beitsa is not at all what I'm talking about, so don't bring it as a kasha against me, because that Beitsa is talking about what kind of branch? Harder, right? Kasha, which means, in other words, it's not animal food, because animals can't eat hard branches or hard straw even. It has to be softened somewhat. So that's what he's saying. If it's animal food and it starts out soft, I can do other stuff with it. But this Beitsa is talking about a case where it's already more like a branch. That's why it's actually called atse. He has a bit of a diuk, right? Because it does say in the Beitsa, atse besami, wood of spice, or of smelling incense. So therefore it's like a wood that has like a perfumey smell to it, but it's wood. You know, that's like it says in the beginning of Bereshis, Eitz pri, ose pri. Remember that pasuk? And then Rashi says, but do you notice afterwards it doesn't say when it came out of the ground, it wasn't eitz pri osa pri, it was just eitz osa pri. So what happened? In the beginning, it was told to become a eitz pri, an eitz that actually was a pri. All the wood in the world was supposed to be an eitz that was, the wood itself is a pri, and osa pri, and also makes fruit. So I think Rashi there even says, can you get down to Bereshis, please? Maybe get down 3 so we can all share in the thrill of finding the Rashi on this. There's an orange types you can use if you want. That'll wake everyone up. Thank you. So in the pasuk, it was the third day. Yeah. Okay, so it's pasuk. Perak Aleph pasuk Yud Aleph. Vayomer Elokim Tacheh haaretz deshe. Should produce like grass. Esav osa pri. Esav mazria zera, producing seed. And then look what it says. Eitz pri.
Which page is it?
It's page Gimel actually. You see on page Gimel, there's the first wide line. There's pasuk Yud Aleph. No?
Yeah. Page Gemora.
Yeah.
No, 8 3.
How come when I stand up you get it?
That's right at the bottom. Oh, sorry. First wide line.
Okay. So there it says, after it says that it should produce the grass of the field, also eitz pri, osa pri lumino. But later on, when it actually happened, it says in pasuk Yud Beis, "V'tosar it's deshe esav mazria zer luminehu," and then it just says the eitz osa pri. What happened to the eitz pri osa pri? In the command, it says to make an eitz pri osa pri. Afterwards, when the actual happened, it's just called an eitz osa pri. What's the difference? So first of all, it's considered that the tree did not obey Hashem, by the way. Or the ground. Sorry, the ground did not do what it was told. It was told to produce a what? A tree that was a fruit. Eitz pri. And that produced fruit. Osa pri. So Rashi says on the pasuk, I believe, in the left-hand column there, with me, Sruli?
Yeah.
Eitz pri,
She
tam, eitz kitam hapri. When you taste the bark or whatever, it tastes like a fruit. It's like a fruity taste in the bark. V'hi lo asasakim, but it didn't do that. Elovatotza aretz, etc. Eitz osa pri, v'lo ha'eitz pri. It says it just said eitz, it made a pri, but it wasn't eitz pri anymore. What happened? It didn't obey Hashem. L'fikach niskalala adam al avono. Man got punished for the sin of the tree, really, of the ground. Nifkada. Gam hi al avona v'niskalala. Whatever. So that was part of the, in a way, it was partially the sin of Adam got added to this sin, where the ground didn't really listen to Hashem. So what is it? What kind of a tree would it have produced? Well, the bark or the wood tastes like a pri. And Chazal say there are still some trees like that. You know what trees are like that? The cinnamon tree. They say the cinnamon bark of the cinnamon tree tastes like cinnamon. You can ask Rabbi Google later.
What about a maple tree?
Does the bark taste like maple?
I don't know.
So it could be there are some trees that actually, in a way you could say, some trees did listen, but some trees didn't listen, as it were. But the point is, what our Gemora says, Atse Besamim, the wood itself has the smell of Besamim. So in a way it's like Eitz Pri. A little bit like Eitz Pri. The wood itself has not a good taste, but a good smell. In a way, it's like what Rashi's explaining here in Bereshit. So we see certain trees retain that quality, but the problem is most of the trees don't have the same taste. Right? They just taste like wood. And we see from this Beitsa that there are some branches that actually do taste like, cinnamon, I think, is one. Others. So that's what I think it's saying in this Beitsa. And that's why, and the truth is, it's a little bit of a support for Rabbi Yehuda. Because if it's just talking about a soft something, we wouldn't call it necessarily eitz. Right? Normally eitz is something that turns hard.
Yes. It's interesting that Hashem saw this and said it was good.
What?
Hashem saw this and said it was good.
The same what?
It says, V'yehu Elokim Ki Tov.
It's so good.
It's so good.
Well, just like the truth of the matter is, it says that at the end of the Bria, Vayar Hashem Ki Tov Ma'od. What's Tov Ma'od? Say Chazal, death. It's talking about death.
It's cheerful.
I think Chazal say because, first of all, the fact that there's death in the world is very good. Why is it very good?
Yeshiva.
Do tshuva. Otherwise, in the olden days, right, when people lived 1,000 years, etc., they didn't do tshuva right away. Some didn't do tshuva at all. Say, another few hundred years to live. Why should I do tshuva now? I'll wait a few hundred years. Huh?
Once I sneeze, that's it.
Yeah, well, so there was another problem. Right? But the point is that here we could say that maybe that was the pshat, that Atse Besamim is considered to be harder. But then we see it's not exactly that way, because Rabbi Yehuda says the whole Bryce has to be restructured, has to be re-understood according to a new, what's called Chisuri Mechsur. We have to imagine that there's extra words, like a bridge, that's missing from the text. Now, if you put that bridge in, everything makes sense. And the two parts of the Bryce are really talking about two different kinds of wood.
Yeah.
So maybe we should read the Gemora. Should we start out with the Chasuri Mechsra part, or should we go back a bit to the problem that led up to that?
Go back a bit.
What do you say, Shabbatai?
It's good. Okay.
Okay, so truly pick a spot that seems to make sense to you, and let's see if it makes sense to me.
Amalei, Hashta Platza.
So who's speaking to whom?
To Yehuda.
Saying to whom?
Kahana.
Good. And what does it mean, Hashta?
Hashta means now. Platza or also.
He doesn't mean like now as opposed to later. It's not really the now that he's talking about, right? What does he mean, Hashta? It's like, now that you said that, I'm angry. That's what it basically, right? Sometimes you use the word now just to start the argument. Right? Now that you're calling my mother or that, that's fighting words, right?
Yeah.
That's how he's using it to start the argument. He's saying, wait a minute. Now let's think about that. You asked a kasha against me what?
Hashta Platza or also, Kavashali, Platza Sniboyev.
There's a part of the Beitsa that already says Patra of al-Asr. And that's what Rashi says. If you would have just brought that against me, that would have been enough. But Chatas, Chayv Chatas, Miboya? Do you really need to go that far to ask against a problem that I'm against a Beitsa that's saying Chayv Chatas? Right? It's enough to bring a Beitsa that just says it's Asr. What I said is Mutter is Asr. That's already contradicting me. This already would have been enough. Why'd you have to go that extra mile and bring a Beitsa against me that says Chayav Chatas? Seems like a bit avoiding the point. The point is, this Beitsa is against you. A little bit, a lot, doesn't matter. It's against you, right?
Yeah.
So Rav Yehuda knows. He's just sort of biding his time, right? It's like, that's not the main issue, but he thought it would just clear the air. Clear the air, this person asked a kasha against you that wasn't really necessary. Ella, but I have an answer for you. Meaning, your kasha, even no matter what level, if you're going to ask because I said mutter and it says asur, or because I said mutter and it says chayav chatos, either way I have an answer for you. That what?
Kitanya Ahi Kasha, which is taught
What does it mean, key?
right.
So is it like a statement when, or like a rhetorical question when?
What's a sort of question?
So give it that sense then.
Kitanya Ahi Kasha. When you taught the Torah where the wood is hard, Kasha B'nai.
Just a second. So that, can you just explain the question?
When you said that Torah of Kahana talking about wood is hard, like no, it kind of
So who's speaking now? So is he trying to answer a question or ask a question?
ask a question.
But he was just asked a question by Rav Kalma, right? So he asked a question on you, should you answer them or should you just ask them another question?
Answer them.
You should try to answer them. So what's he saying as an answer? If you read it as an answer, what's he saying?
When you told them, the question.
Meaning?
Hard crystal wood.
Huh? Can I take a touch?
You can't make money.
It was a lot left. It's fooled me. Mmm,
I think I'll make
that's
some.
delicious.
I think I'll make some.
Hmm? No, it's all empty. It's all gone. Now we really want that to come back. Anyhow, I'm going to slip on that. Make sure. Try to avoid the irritation. Thank you for your infusion.
Now I would have put you in cold.
Yeah. Ah, it was perfect. Just hit the spot. Just the spot. Okay. So let's get back to the point. Try to read it again, please. It's Rev Yehuda trying to answer. What was the question? Let's just review the question.
The question is, you say you get out of cat wood to smell.
If Rav Yehuda said you're allowed to do it, he didn't speak about smelling. He actually, according to Rashi, he was talking about even to clean your teeth. He just said in general you're allowed to make any adjustment and do anything to it that you want. If it's, as long as it's, now Rav Kana said to him, you can't say that because look what it says in the Beitsa. No, that's Rav Yehuda's answer. We're trying to follow this train of thought. Rav Yehuda says you can fix something as long as it's Michael Behema. Rav Kana asked a kasha from this Beitsa because he assumed it's also talking about Michael Behema. And it does say in the Beitsa what? Are you allowed to fix something up or not? You're not. So Rav Yehuda, to defend himself, has to do what? He has to diffuse the Beitsa. How can you diffuse this Beitsa? It's saying against him. It's saying you can't do it, and he said you can do it. How can he diffuse it? What's an old method of diffusing a kasha? No, you're jumping the gun. No. Just read the words again. Ki Tanya Hahi Bakashi. What do you think he's saying there? To defend himself, he's diffusing the Beitsa. How's he diffusing it? He's explaining it. So read the words of the Gemora again and try to put that in.
Tanya, he becashin. When he taught,
Who taught what?
the Beitsa taught.
And the Beitsa you brought against me.
Yeah.
So let's put those extra words in. The Beitsa you brought against me that said it's what?
Kashin.
No, that said what? What is saying the Beitsa?
Okay.
You're not allowed. The Beitsa you brought against me. I said you're allowed. Beitsa you brought against me that said it's not allowed. I'm going to diffuse it. How do I diffuse it? By saying it's talking about
Kashin.
kashin.
The whole piece of wood.
And how does that diffuse the kasha? Because I was talking about, and if it's really talking in that Beitsa about kashin, it's not ochel behema. Therefore, I've diffused the kasha. Get it?
Yeah.
So read it again and try to put all of that meaning into those few words.
The Tanya. When the Beitsa against me.
And the Beitsa said, not allowed to cut. I say, you're allowed to cut ochel behema. This Beitsa is saying you can't cut these branches, and we assumed it's ochel behema. Says Rav Yehuda to defend himself? No. Ki Tanya hi bekashi. What does that mean? Those branches, whatever's talking about, Atze B'Samim, which are not ochel behema, right? So let's repeat those words again and put all of that meaning into it. Don't make me have to bring it out from you. I don't like squeezing water from a rock. So you bring it out on your own. You be like Moshe Rabbeinu. You talk to the rock and you bring it out. And it's you talking to whom? It's Rav Yehuda talking to Rav Khan, who brought a kasha against him. No, it doesn't say ochel behema in the Beitsa. You put that in. Rav Kana assumed it's talking about ochel behema. It doesn't say in the Beitsa anything about ochel behema. Does it? So stop repeating those words, because you're sabotaging your own answer. You keep calling it a Beitsa that says about ochel behema, then you're going to turn around and tell me it's not talking about ochel behema. I'm going to wonder, are you schizophrenic? You just said the Beitsa is talking about ochel behema, and then you turn around saying it's not talking about ochel behema. So please decide. So don't put in his words Michael behema.
When you said you're not allowed to cut pieces of wood.
That's right. And you assumed, Rav Kana, that it means also Michael behema, but I'm saying to you, you made a mistake. Which are not Michael behema, therefore I diffused your kasha by saying what? It's not talking about what I'm talking about. Yes, it's saying a different halacha, but because it's talking about a different thing. Not what I was talking about. Yeah. It's like if I tell you you can cook on Yom Tov, you say, I found a Beitsa you can't cook on Shabbos. So what's the answer? I wasn't talking about Shabbos, I was talking about Yom Tov. Of course you can't cook on Shabbos. That's not a kasha on me, I was talking about Yom Tov. Because my whole heter was based on the fact that it's ochel behema. If you have something that's not ochel behema, I never would have proposed a heter on that. I know, like everybody else, it's usher to make a tikkun of a mana, right? I'm not stupid. I know that's true. But what I said about Michael behema, the reason why I said it was mutter is because it doesn't really make a tikkun of a mana. Like we were saying before, it remains Michael behema. Okay, whatever. So, now who's talking?
Rav Kahana.
It's very likely to be Rav Kahana answering back to Rav Yehuda. So let's put that in. You, Rav Yehuda, are trying to defend yourself by saying what? That this Beitsa is talking about hard pieces of wood and not soft, which the soft ones are Michael behema. You're claiming this Beitsa is only talking about the hard, which is not Michael behema, so that's why it's not shver.
Yeah.
But I'm going to try to show you that that's not true. Okay, so there's a tug of war on how to explain the Beitsa. Okay, just a minute. Okay. So, what's he saying? Let's try to get in the actual words now.
He's trying to say that Kahana's come to fight back. Kashi playing the leadership. These whole pieces of wood or something can be not these whole pieces of wood.
You're claiming that the Beitsa is only talking about hard pieces. And I was trying to claim before that they're soft, or at least there are soft pieces of wood that are being talked about here. And you're saying they're not talking about the soft, only the hard, then it's shver, says Rav Kana, because our kashim are the harder pieces of wood, b'nei melilos ninu.
Or something that you can be crushed.
That's right, exactly. And why is that shver? Because it says in the Beitsa, the first part of the Beitsa, that when it starts talking about metaltalin, you're allowed to move these atzei b'samim, you're allowed to wave them for the chola, whatever the chiddush was in that. And it says you can also crush them with your fingers. Okay? So it said three things that even the Beitsa said there's a heter with these things. Right? And one of the heterim was moving, waving, and crushing between your fingers.
That's the first parak.
That's the first part of the Beitsa. What do you mean first parak?
Do we do something similar in the first parak about crushing?
Oh, we did have such a thing, yes.
No, that's
You're right. You're right. It was called Molali Malilos. There was a Beitsa about Molali Malilos. Very good. Very good. That was also a sugya about whether you're allowed to crush in your fingertips the kernels of grain, etc. That's correct. Very good. That's where we learn the word, and it does appear a few places, but that's one of the major places it appears. That's very good. But here we're applying it not to kernels or something, we're applying to these branches. Right? Okay. So the first part of the Beitsa said three heterim. You can move it, metaltalin, you can be mainif, you can wave it, and you could do molalim, right? Which is the same word as over there. So just like over there, we're talking about doing something like that to the kernels and getting the husk off, to be able to eat it, right? Like when you get peanuts, it has that red husk on the outside, and when you go like this, it comes off. If you don't like it, some people like to remove it first. That might be a problem on Yom Tov or Shabbos, whatever. I'm not saying, but that would be mol and melilos type of thing. But here is saying with the atzei b'samim, it seems that that's going to help do something to the b'samim. How's that going to help? With a peanut that has a red husk, I know when you do that, the red husk comes off. What happens to a piece of wood when you do that? What are you accomplishing? Must be you're crushing it to some extent, and some of the b'samim is coming out. That's what you do when you do that. It crushes it a bit, just like when you do that to a peanut, the husk comes off, or you do that to a kernel of grain, the husk comes off, and it reveals the true food. Here also, you're doing something to remove part of the branch to get it to exude its besamim, its perfume.
Yes.
So says Rav Kana to Rav Yehuda, you're trying to claim that this Beitsa that says it's usher to do the kitum, the cutting off of the end is usher, and even chayav chatos, you're trying to claim that's only because it's talking about. You, Rav Yehuda, are trying to claim that this is not shver on you because it's only talking about the harder ones. And you never talked about that. You were talking about Michael Behem, which are the softer ones. But I am asking you a question, that if you're really trying to claim this whole Beitsa is talking about only the hard kind of branches, then how come in the beginning it says Mola de Bolinos?
Because it's not so hard and you can crush it.
That's right. So are the harder ones, could they really be crushed in your fingers? That's very, very difficult to assume. So therefore it's not logical. It's logical to say that part of the Beitsa is for sure talking about what? If it says molin, it's talking about
hard pieces of wood.
If it was talking about hard, it wouldn't say molin. So if it is saying molin, it's probably talking about a softer kind, which is ochel behema. So then Rav Kana says, you see, I'm right. This Beitsa is dealing with that type as well. Right? Because you certainly see in this part of the Beitsa is talking about that. And then it goes on to say you're allowed to do that, but you're not allowed to liktom. So you're wrong. Even the soft kind, you're not allowed to do liktom, to cut off the end.
Even though soft ones is a problem.
Because you see the first part of the Beitsa is saying you're talking about that kind. Saying you can move it, you can wave it, you can do the malilos thing, but you can't cut off the ends. Okay? That's usher. Liktom is usher, right? Either for l'reach or for picking your teeth. It's either usher or it's even chayav chatas. But it's talking already in this Beitsa about what kind of wood, according to Rav Kana?
Soft pieces.
Soft. Because that's why it says molin malilos. And if you say it's hard, or kashin b'nei malilos ninu, are they things you can actually do malila to? No. They're too hard, right? You can't try to do that to the table. Rub it between your fingers, see if anything happens. Anything happen to the table when I'm rubbing it between my fingers? No, nothing. This is hard, right? Nothing happens when you rub between your fingers hardwood. So, on that point, that's such a good question that Rav Yehuda, in order to defend himself now, has to restructure the entire Beitsa. He's basically agreeing with Rav Kana. The first part of the Beitsa has to be talking about what? It says malilos in the first part. So it must be talking about soft. And therefore he can't disagree with that. He can't just come along and disagree with that. He agrees that it's not logical to say the first part is talking about hard wood. But yet he's convinced that the last part that said it's usher liktom is only because it's what? He already defended himself that where it says it's usher and chayav chatas, it's because it's what? No, Rav Yehuda defended himself already by saying he believes that part of the Beitsa is talking about Ki Tanya Hahi B'Kashin. He defended himself. He said that when that Beitsa taught that thing about being usher and that thing about being chayav chatas, it was only because it was hard. So he now admitting the first part is soft and the last part is hard, right?
Yeah.
Sounds like a lot of tests, right? Starts out easy, ends up hard. Starts soft, ends up hard. So the Beitsa starts out talking about the soft wood, we know that because of malilos, and it ends up talking about the hard wood because according to Rabbi Yehuda, that's the only kind that's going to be usher and chayav chatas. If it's soft, it'll be a Michael Behem and it'll be mutter. So how do you deal with a Beitsa that starts out talking about harder, softer wood and ends up talking about the harder wood, but didn't even tell you it's switching horses in the middle of the race? Is that fair? So it turns out that somebody made a mistake. One of the editors of this Beitsa forgot to put in the one bridge. There's a bridge there, right? If you don't put in a bridge, you know what happens if you don't put in a bridge? Things fall down into the abyss. Right? So that's why this Beitsa doesn't make any sense according to Rabbi Yehuda. He's saying because the bridge was taken out. There's a bridge that's supposed to be in here, and it was fell out. Right? When the bridge falls out, people die. Okay, Marina, so you put things in perspective. Thank you. Now,
Continue.
so therefore, what does Rabbi Yehuda have to do now? He has to replace the bridge.
So this is what's going on. It's the symbol of the Beitsa is missing words.
He has to say it's missing. Something happened. The bridge fell out. The bridge is missing.
This is what the Beitsa means to talk.
In other words, it should be reading the following with the bridge. He's going to insert the bridge. The first part that talks about Mololin. So he claims that the first part of the Beitsa is actually telling you can crush it with your fingers to smell it, and you can even what? Cut at the ends off to smell it. Yeah, because the next three words are now stopping and catching their breath. What are the next three words in that Rosh Tevos? Which means, when is it really true what I just said, that you're allowed to even do kitum to the wood? When is it that it's mutter to do kitum?
When is it true?
Yeah, when is it really true that chiddush that we just said, that you can actually not only be mololo, you can even be kotmo, but b'medvarim, where it's not going to be true in all cases. When is it really true? Limited case.
It's only when it's soft.
Only the softer kind. And that substantiates what we were saying before. The first part of the Beitsa is for sure talking about the softer kind, that you could be mololi. And then the Beitsa has a bridge. This is the bridge. Aval.
Kashin. Lo
Yiktamenu. But if it were dealing with kashin, so now that's the bridge, we're switching into the land of hardwood.
If you do a hardwood, like
Then we have a whole new set of rules.
no, not a carrot.
Like you go over a bridge, you get into a different country, it's a whole new set of rules.
Go from America to Canada.
That's right.
Like the
Well,
native
you can
forms.
remember, probably better to go from South Africa to Zimbabwe,
Why?
because that's a huge difference, right, between the two countries.
America and Canada also is very good.
Yeah. Just Americans are less polite, and the Canadians are more polite.
Still
A big difference. Okay, that can be argued. Now, so what happens when you enter the new country of called Kashin? Then we have a new set of rules. What's a new set of rules? Aleph. First things we want to clarify.
in
Of Al-Bakashin, if you travel into that city called Kashin, then first of all we're telling you the rule is now lo yiktamenu. Before, when we were talking about Rachim, we said you could do kitu. You could cut off the end. But now you're in the other country called Kashin, you're in the harder country. Right? Like you said, Israel has hard water. Right? This is a harder country. Then
in
lo yiktamenu. You're not allowed.
Kitmur Potter.
Aval asur. If you ended up doing it, it was Pater, you're not Chayav Chatas, but it was Asur. Yeah, which we actually just said before, like Lo Yiktamenu, but that's fine. But then it's going to say, and the bigger Kiddush is that if you did it for more than just smelling, Lachtzot, if you did it with intention to actually pick your teeth, and not just to smell it, then also Lo Yiktamenu, but okay? So that's how, according to Rabbi Yehuda, you have to look at this Beitsa from now on. You put the bridge back in, and you add a few more words to tweak it, to get it perfect, and now it's perfect, because the first part is talking about soft. It's soft is what he was always talking about. And that's where he claimed there's no problem with fixing it up. Even to pick your teeth. Now, what's the one kash you could ask? No, on Rav Yehuda. When he fixed up this Beitsa, what does the Beitsa say? If it's soft, you're allowed to do what?
Cut it and smell.
But what does it say actually?
So
Mololo. According to him, now that we're rewording it, Mololo,
Maria Floy.
and you smell it, and
Cut Maria Floy.
so am I allowed to cut it and do my teeth? Or just to smell it?
Just to smell it.
But he said before, with the Rashi at the top of the page, you have to do any tikkun you want. Even if it's, and the higher form of tikkun we know is to pick your teeth. Right, now you see from the second part of the Beitsa, when it's talking about harder wood, if you do kitu for smelling, it's just asur but no chatas. If you do it to actually pick your teeth, it's chayav chatas. So you see it's a harsher thing. So maybe when the first part, why did he limit it to mariach? I thought, according to the top Rashi, let's look at the top Rashi. When Rabbi Yehuda said ochel behema has no problem with tikkun, look what Rashi says. Shabbatai, you want to try the top Rashi? Originally, Rabbi Yehuda said Oichel Behema, which meant
כגון קש בעלי כלים, אין בהם משום תקין כלי.
right.
So this year doesn't need a tikkun.
There's no problem.
Yes, no
No,
problem.
not that they don't need it.
Yeah.
There's no problem if you do it,
Yeah.
and therefore
ומותר להקיף.
Liktom. There's Rashi's injecting Liktom in there. We know why Rashi injected that in there. So later, when we see a Bryce saying Liktom, we'll know that's what we're comparing. That he was really talking about Liktom. He didn't say it, but Rashi said we understood that he's talking about Liktom. Even Liktom is mutter. And the Bryce is going to say Asur. That's going to be the big kasha. So Rashi right away sets up the kasha. So according to Rashi, the original statement of Rabbi Yehuda was that Liktom, it's mutter Liktom. L'saken kash shel shibolim b'shabbos even, and even lachtzot shina, even if it's to pick your teeth.
Das ist noch das Beitsa, wie du ausmachst, aber it's so contradicting himself.
It's problematic. Why did he back down? He backed down a bit. Originally, according to Rashi, he was saying it's mutter to do any tikkun you want, even the biggest tikkun, to pick your teeth and all of that. No problem. Now the Rav Kana asked the kasha, even though he had to defend himself, and he did defend himself, and he explained how the different parts of the Beitsa are working differently, they still seem to say in this Beitsa that when you're doing even on the soft wood a tikkun, which is mutter, but he only puts in mariach, right? Molo mariach, kotmo mariach. Why? I would have said lachso shina. Why isn't that mutter in the rice? Why did we limit it? Before we weren't limiting it. What changed? Is he giving in a bit to Rav Kana now? Before he thought it was actually mutter to make toothpicks. Now he's saying, I don't think I agree with you. That was a bit too much. Sounds like it, right? He's backing down a bit. Maybe he now agrees that you see from this price that it's a much worse thing to do toothpicks. To be a chayav chatas in a hard piece of wood, whereas just to smell it is not chatas. It's just right. So maybe because of the severity of the isser in the harder pieces of wood, maybe even in the softer piece of wood, we don't go as far as we used to go.
Let's see back down.
He backs down a touch, I think, at least unless Rashi will explain it differently. But I'm saying, just from the words of the Gemora, I would say maybe he learned a lesson. Right? If the hardwood I do to pick the teeth is chayav chatas, right? So what's one madrega down from that? If the softwood, if I do it to pick my teeth, should be asur midrabanan. Maybe that's how he's learning, to make a gezerah. Don't allow everyone to do anything they want with it. If you allow someone to make a toothpick with the softwood, somebody might make a mistake and make a toothpick even with the hardwood. And not everybody knows to make the difference, right? So that would be a very natural gezerah. Now that we've seen that if you end up doing it with hardwood, it's a chayav chatas.
He's going to use placards on them, right?
What?
Not only use placards.
What's plackers?
It's frost sticks. To go like this and have an piece of your teeth.
Talking about brushing your teeth?
Flossing.
Flossing. Oh, flossing. I don't know. I could never floss because my gums always bleed no matter what I do. I'm very sensitive. But the point is, we're talking about making a kli. Can I make a kli on Yom Tov? Till now I thought no, but Rabbi Yehuda opened up a door here, Pandora's box, and said what? You can make a kli on Yom Tov, even on Shabbos, right? Even on Shabbos. Rashi said he's talking even on Shabbos, right? So originally we thought he's telling you you can even make a toothpick if it's the softer kind, which is animal food. But now we saw what? If it's hardwood, you know what that ends up being? Chayav chatas. So now what if someone makes a mistake? And they see someone doing it too soft and they don't realize is that everything hard and soft, and they end up doing it with the hardwood, they're going to be chayav chatas. So what should we do? Make a gezerah. Tell people, even with the soft, even though it's really permissible, but we're afraid people will make a mistake, so don't make a toothpick. The most we'll let you do is lahariach.
Yeah.
Because what's the worst that could happen? Someone could get mixed up. They'll see you doing it to the softwood to lahariach,
And they cannot roll
And they'll
the
think you can do that to the hardwood, and if they do it to the hardwood because they made a mistake, what's going to be the worst thing that's going to happen?
They won't smell
Patra
anything.
avalasur.
They won't smell anything anyway.
What?
Rolling the hardwood.
No, cutting. I'm talking about cutting. Everything's leaked on. The whole, even though we're talking about molalim just to prove the point over here, but the whole kasha against Rav Yehuda was on the leak tone part, because that's what Rashi injected it earlier. That he was even telling you could leak tone. But now we're saying leak tone could be lariach, or leak tone could be laksoshina. There could be two reasons for leak tone. And Rashi actually knew that originally, meaning he thought the most natural thing he's telling you to do is to make a toothpick. Leak tone for the toothpick. But now we're seeing that if it's not so simple. That maybe because we learned in this Beitsa that there's a madrega called chayav chatas if you do leak tone, if it's laksoshina. So therefore we just step back and we make a natural gezerah. And that's a natural thing for the Rabbanan to do, to say, if it's with the hardwood, you get chatas, and I don't want anyone to make that mistake, so I'm going to make sure that with the soft, which should be permissible, but that's what the Rabbanan do. They step in and tell you a case that should be permissible is usher, because you might make a mistake and go on to the other case. So they say, look, even if it's soft, you should be able to do it. Don't do leak tone to make a toothpick. You can only do leak tone to lariach. That's why even after he restructures the Beitsa, he doesn't do it in an extreme fashion as he could have. He could have said, if it's softwood, you can do it lariach, or you can do it even laksoshina. No. He avoids that in his restructuring. You get what I'm saying? Alright, I'm stepping out for a second if you don't mind turning off the video for a minute.